And we are back. Welcome back to the Deep Press Cincinnati Sports Fan Podcast. I am Jesse. Yeah, it's Friday morning. It's a day after probably second best NFL game of the season. The first one was the first meeting between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens back in Week 5, where the Ravens won 41-38 in overtime at Paycor Stadium. And then what we saw last night, Bengals travel to Baltimore and lose in a heartbreaking fashion, just like they did in Week 5, losing 35-34. Before I start this is pretty much like my reaction. And I know a lot of Bengals fans are feeling very sad. They're frustrated and angry, and just pretty much at everybody. The organization, the head coach, the defensive coordinator, the offensive line coach, the whole defensive players, everyone. I think that's what Bengals fans are feeling right now on this Friday morning. But I'm just here to tell you that this has pretty much been what the Bengals have been all of 2024. You get 30-plus points by the offense. Joe Burrow playing at a MVP level. Jamar Chase is pretty much saying that he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And both of those two pretty much were carrying the Bengals on their backs in this football game on Thursday Night Football in Baltimore. If you would have told me before the game that the Bengals would score 34 points in Baltimore, I would have said that the Bengals would have won this football game. But then I told myself, oh, look, we still have the Bengals defense. But the Bengals defense did a great job in the first half. They held that Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens high-power offense that had been great all season to only 7 points in the first half. If you would have told me that Lamar Jackson had under 100 yards passing, Derrick Henry had 21 yards rushing, and the Ravens offense as a whole didn't even eclipse 150 total yards in the first half. If you had told me that Bengals defense that has been not good, to say the least, and I'm putting it nicely, all season, if you had told me they did that in the first half on the road in a must-win game against your divisional rival, I would have been like, sign me up. The Bengals will win this football game. And the Bengals are up 14-7 at halftime. The Ravens get the ball to begin the second half. The Bengals defense forced a 3-and-out. And then Jamar, 67 yards. Jamar Chase after the catch, the best wide receiver in the league. Run away from like 4 Ravens defenders. 21-7 Bengals. I'm thinking to myself, okay, the Bengals are in good shape. And then the defense, once again, forces another 3-and-out. And then the Bengals offense, you get the football with a 14-point lead on the road against the Ravens, and the crowd in that stadium were booing the offense because they haven't done anything. You're thinking to yourselves, if we get a touchdown and we go up by 21 points, I believe the game is over. I know you can't count out the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers and Sean Bateman and Mark Andrews and company, but the Bengals defense were playing fast. They were playing physical. They were hitting people. They were playing with an edge. The edge that I was looking back and thinking about the Super Bowl run and how Lou Anarumo and that defense, even though they had defensive players in that unit with the Super Bowl run, they were just playing like that. And they were playing with high-level confidence, playing high-level situations, and playing really well in this football game for the first, 2.5 quarters. If you would have told me that they were up 21-7 and the offense gets the ball, I would have been like, okay, we get a touchdown, we go up 28-7. I think the game's over. And then the back of my mind, as a Cincinnati sports fan, was thinking, this is too good to be true, because for the first, 9 games of the season, I have seen this where things are looking good for the Bengals. And then something happens, and then the momentum switches in these football games, and it goes all the way downhill for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it did. And unfortunately, Chase Brown fumbles the ball. It was a good play by Marlon Humphrey, but that changed the whole football game because the Ravens get a short field. Derrick Henry runs it in for a touchdown 5 plays later. It's 21-14, and I just had a feeling that here we go again. This is going to be a shootout. And then the Bengals defense went back to being the Bengals defense that I know and know very well in 2024. They went back to not tackling, allowing explosive plays. And when I'm talking about the tackling, the Tylan Wallace 84-yard touchdown reception where 3 Bengals missed them. And it was pathetic tackling attempts on that play. It's ridiculous. And I just put my head down and say, wow. I wasn't even yelling. I was just saying, wow. This has pretty much been the Bengals season. And it was really a sad sight to see when that happened. And then Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, once again, 80 yards to tie the game at 28. And then the Ravens come back and score. And then the Bengals get the ball. You telling me the Bengals get the ball back with a minute left on one touchdown? The way Joe and Jamar have been humming in this football game, yes, I would have taken that opportunity, and I'll be like, okay, the Bengals are going to score a touchdown, and they did. Joe found Jamar Chase. What a great throw! What a great throw by Joe Burrow on that touchdown pass to Jamar Chase. It felt like the Ben Roethlisberger, the Centennial Home Super Bowl touchdown throw against the Arizona Cardinals in '09. Joe threw it over two Ravens defenders that had a beat on that ball, but it was just put at the right place of the hands to Jamar Chase, who made a great catch, put the 2 feet down, and then here's the big question: do you go for two? Yes, it was a great call. Zach Taylor was aggressive all game. He came into this football game saying, you know what? The season is pretty much on the line. You're playing the Ravens, you're playing your rival, and you cannot settle for three. You got to be aggressive, and I'm glad he did that. And they went for two. They called timeout, and then designed a play where I don't know why it was going to Tanner Hudson. That play should have went to Jamar Chase, but unfortunately, Joe throws the ball to Tanner Hudson and was incomplete. Yes, Joe got his face mask pulled. Should have been a call. Mike Gesicki got the defensive holding on him. That should have been called. But I'm not here to say that the refs decided the football game. It's unfortunate that it ended like that. However, as a Bengals fan and as a sports fan, I don't like blaming refs for the outcome of a football game or any sports, because that should have never came down to that point for the Cincinnati Bengals. The defense allowed 4 straight scoring drives, allowed 21 innocent points. That's the reason why the Bengals lost. Okay? And the Bengals had no running game. Chase Brown only got 13 carries, 41 yards. I understand the Ravens had one of the best run defenses in the league, but the running game was bad. And Joe Burrow, love him. He threw for over 420 yards, 4 touchdowns. He passed the ball 56 times. As great as that man is, 56 times? No. I don't like that at all. And Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 264, 3 touchdown receptions. Amazing. Like, Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the football. And no T. Higgins. The Bengals had over 470 total yards of offense in this football game without T. Higgins, without Orlando Brown Jr. The Bengals had to go to Cody Ford, who is a liability. At one point, they put in Devin Cochran. I don't know who that is. I've heard of that name, but I was just like, what the hell? This is a freaking mess with the offensive line. And Joe Burrow was getting pressure all day long. He was only sacked 1 time, but he was sacked 3 times. But, he was getting pressured every single down. It felt like it. And this man, he loves getting pressured because he is sneaky athletic. He was able to move around the pocket, get out of it, throw on the run. He is so deadly at that. But I just don't like when he's getting pressured every single play in this football game. It felt like that. There's a couple of times where he got a clean pocket, but it was very, 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 very rare in this football game. So it's sad over here. It really is. And the Bengals are now 4-6. If you want to be optimistic, it's the teams that they got left in the schedule. They're pretty much chasing in the AFC wildcard with. They got to play the Steelers twice. They have to play the Denver Broncos. They got to play the Los Angeles Chargers next Sunday night, a team that is humming right now and has a really good defense. So that's another challenge. So, and the Bengals did this about, the Bengals scored 34 points without T. Higgins. And T. Higgins, once again, was out in this football game for quad injury. I love T, but I'm so glad the Bengals didn't sign him to the long extension, because to the point I'm just getting really tired of just him playing 4 games and then gets hurt. It's unfortunate. I know injuries happen in sports, but my God, this guy just cannot stay healthy. And all of this, guys, is pretty much all on the Bengals organization. Seriously. Because right now, if I had to choose like who's going to be fired, it's not Zach Taylor, okay? So he's not going to get fired. He's not going to get fired this year. Maybe next year the Bengals don't make the playoffs again. But I think they're going to let Lou Anarumo go, unfortunately. But I don't think he's a scapegoat. I don't think Lou is one of the better defensive coordinators in this league. I just think that he is just the Bengals have given him these players, and he is trying to do his best to work around these players, and it's not working. Okay, Geno Stone, probably one of the worst signings of the offseason. Okay, that guy is whack. Yes, he had 7 picks with the Ravens last year, but honestly, Ravens defense helped him. Okay, and the Bengals look at that and say, "Oh, he had 7 picks. He had a pick against Joe Burrow in the first game against us in Paycor Stadium last year in Week 2. Oh, we're gonna sign him in the offseason." It's like, okay, Bengals really just when it comes to scouting players and looking at players, they just go by like, oh, the numbers and not actually taking a look at the whole game as a whole. Short rankings, he pretty much was a ghost out there, and I don't know why the Bengals signed him. He's just been nothing. Von Bell, I don't know why we signed him. Love him when he was with the Super Bowl team run, but he ain't it. Okay, and then Sam Hubbard, he's one of the better run defenders in the league, but when it comes to creating pressure, absolutely a liability as well. This whole defense, other than Trey Hendrickson, there's really no talent. Not enough talent in ways they can compete against a really solid offensive team in the NFL. And who's to blame for that? Duke Tobin and pretty much the whole Bengals organization as a whole. That's pretty much it. Pretty much it. And it's sad that they are pretty much ruining the greatness of a Joe Burrow, the greatness of a Jamar Chase, the greatness of a Trey Hendrickson. Like, what are we doing? Seriously, Bengals. You really just love to save money, but not willing to, pick up some players that can help this team, right? You say that you want to be a Super Bowl contending team every single season, right? Where's that? Like, I don't see that. I don't. I just see an organization just loving to just stay there and pick up cheap players and pick up players that are pretty much average, where this team needs players that need to be above average. Like, what are we doing? And you look at the state of the offensive line. Ever since Joe Burrow has been in the NFL, this is what, year 5 for Joe? It's always been O-line, 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 O-line. Understand there's been injuries, but it just feels like we're back to square one when it comes to offensive line. Kappa stinks now. Volson, yeah, we've been knowing Cordell Volson has been a liability, but he was doing pretty well in the beginning of the season, but now he went back to being Cordell Volson. It's a mess. Maybe Frank Paul might get fired at the end of the season, but this is all in the Bengals organization. This game is pretty much a microcosm of just everything that has happened over the last year and a half with this team. Okay, and they're ruining this. They're ruining this for Joe, Jamar, Trey, but also for the Bengals fans as well. And that's why I'm depressed. For real. Yeah. Stinks. It really is. I'm still going to be a Bengals fan, obviously. Still going to be a Cincinnati sports fan, but it's not a fun time right now, to say the least. I'm out. Love you guys.